Hi, my name is Gracie X, and I decided to do a video on being polyamorous and parenting teenagers in particular because I wrote a article for Mind Body Green. You can find it on my website. It's called How I Raised Teenagers Who Tell Me Everything Even When It's Hard. My website is graciex.com, GRACIEX.com, or you can Google Mind Body Green, Gracie X. Anyway, this article was wildly popular, and it got about 65,000 shares. And I thought it was interesting, very interesting, especially because not everybody reading that article knew that I was doing ethical non-monogamy in my adult life, and I just thought that was interesting because I was giving parenting advice, and a lot of times, people think that polyamorous parents, they're not going to do it right because they're polyamorous. But what I realized is that many of the things that I have learned in polyamory, or they're values that I brought into polyamory, and they're things that I've honed because they're so important to doing relationships well. And there's a whole list of things that I do that's in the article, but one of the biggest things is ownership mentality, not having an ownership mentality with the people in my lives. And in a polyamorous relationship, how this plays out is I don't own my partner's body. I don't own my lover's sexuality. I don't own their thinking. I don't own their ideas and values. I'm discovering that, and they're separate from me. And what I have noticed is that, first of all, that makes for a very full, open relationship in which people really get to be authentic. And that's what teenagers want to do. They want to be able to fully grow into their authentic, greatest self. And what I've noticed is, because I wrote the article because other adults in my life kept saying to me, what are you doing with your teenagers? Because they still confide in you, and they still talk to you, and they still share all their inner life with you. And this is the biggest thing, the biggest difference that I noticed. Now, I'm not saying every polyamorous person does not have an ownership mentality. In my community of friends, that is true. Because I don't want to hang out with people who have that kind of ownership mentality about people, because it's very stifling and uncomfortable, and they're going to have that attitude toward me, and I don't like that attitude. How this plays out with teenagers is when I don't feel like I own my daughter's sexuality, I can be a help to her, a source of information, a guide, but it's very off-putting. Nobody wants to feel like they're owned, like they have to take orders from someone, unless it's a fun little game that you're playing in the bedroom that is consensual between two adults. But in a relationship with your teenager, I'll tell you what, I had a friend who's really having a difficult time with her teenage daughter, and she told me that one day her daughter showed up with this boy, this other teenager, who she found out was her daughter's boyfriend. And she had never met the boy, and they wanted to go into her daughter's bedroom. And she said to me that she was like, oh no, 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 no. And you just immediately kind of the ownership mentality. I own you. You have to ask me if you can have a boyfriend, that kind of thing. And, I think it's fine to be protective, and I think it's important to be protective and very tuned into what your teenagers are doing. If my son or daughter showed up with their new boyfriend or girlfriend, I would just say, and if I had an inkling that this wasn't safe or wasn't right, I would say, hey, come on in, sit down. I've never met you. I'm so excited to meet you. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a glass of water? Let's hang out for a little bit. And then, if I didn't have a great feeling, I would maybe say, hey, well, why don't you two spend some time in the living room? I'll be in and out. Very different mentality than I own you. Anyway, this is something that I've been writing a lot about, like what are the elements and principles that make relationships really expand and grow and thrive and create real intimacy. And this article is a part of that. I'm writing another book that's a part of that. But that is all I'm going to say today, and I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're having a wonderful day or night. Be well.